when little MFers come along and they ask for your email address, and you're nice enough to give it to them, and then your email address goes down. Luckily, it wasn't the email address that I've got connected to anything except for garbage or any other freaking way that I want to pronounce it. I done a video a few months back, or a month or two back, and Carl over at Enchanted Life Path picked it up, and evidently he told some truth on it. And boy, I've been paying hell since. But let me tell you a little something. Y'all want to know who I am? Ask. You want to know where I live? Ask. Don't come along and drop a bunch of little short codes like I don't know what you're doing. Because now your email address, your channels, everything else has been turned into YouTube. I have filed police reports. And I will continue to do so. And let me tell y'all something else. I am a government employee. There's a little document on my wall over there showing such. And I don't give a fuck what state you're in. It is against state and federal law to dox state and government employees. It is a felonious offense to do so. Y'all pick people that you think that you can come by and kick their skin off to mess with. Time and time again. But I'm not the one. So you thought because I was down because of losing my son recently that you could just walk by and kick me. I will press so many charges on you that Tim Mullen cannot buy you out of it. Jeff Barrett cannot help you out of it. I am tired of it. I just had somebody come by. Oh, so you can prove that Jody Sue is getting paid? Yep, I sure can. Ask her about the $500 that was dropped into her bank account or her Venmo account right after the fundraiser was done. To me, that's being paid. So don't come by here and ask me, oh, so you can prove that Jody Sue's been paid? Yes, I can. And she also messed up on Ziggy's channel and said something about being paid by Tiffany Marie. Every time somebody speaks the truth, 100 people comes by to attack them. It is ridiculous. That's why Summer has not been found. It is the exact reason Summer has not been found. Y'all want trouble much? Y'all go ahead and dox a couple of state employees and see what happens. Your YouTube channels have been reported. I have stood right here in my doorway and made police reports about hacking. I have been on the phone with Google for hacking. What the hell is wrong with people? And you know what's bad? Is the ones that are doing this garbage right here is doing it probably for free. They're not even smart enough to get paid. That's the sad part. When Benny or Lizzie sends all these people out to do all this hacking and doxing and all this stuff, do they pay y'all any of the money that they're getting paid from Tim Mullins or Jeff Barrett? Or are y'all just little yes men that do it for free? Yes, massa. I am in grieving. I have lost my son. What part of I don't need this mess? I don't monetize my channel. I don't make any money off the backs of these missing kids. And the whole time I have had my channel, I have made a whole $15. And you know what? It's still sitting there. It is still sitting in the Cash App. I have not removed it. And this I can prove. This I can prove. Can anybody else? And what happened tonight? It's not going to stop me from telling the next truth, or the next truth, or the next truth, or the next truth. But I may decide I like suing as well as Jonathan Lee Riches does. And do not think that the police department cannot force Google LLC, YouTube, to give your name, your address, your IP address, and everything else connected to your YouTube account to said police department. For me to file criminal charges with. I have done it before, and I will do it again. The only point these people are trying to get across is releasing these videos of Don sitting in Sabbath school and the camera focused right on him. Just the split camera. With the pastor here and Don here. And everybody going, oh, I wonder why the camera is focused right on Don. Why is he just right up front? I'll tell you why. Because he's got a court date coming up. They have to be able to go to court and say, look, Your Honor, Don's not partaking in the partying going on up there. Don's been at Sabbath school. Look at him sitting right up with the good kids in the front row. We have video of it, Your Honor. We beg for your mercy on him, Your Honor. And that's the whole deal with the videos circulating of Don sitting in Sabbath school without Candace by himself. I'm not dumb. Hang on. I'm sorry I'm fussing tonight. I've been hacked by an asshole who took advantage of my grief. It has to take advantage of somebody when they're down. I was like, no, I don't feel like participating in YouTube tonight. You know, I've recently lost my son. Christmas has been really hard. And they're like, hey, you know, give me your email address. I'll send you an email. Well, as soon as I posted my email address, I noticed all these short codes coming down. And I knew I had messed up then. And when I went to open my email address, it loaded. It took it about 4 times to load. And then from everything from 6:30 p.m. up was gone. So I had to stop what I was doing, contact YouTube, contact my email provider, contact the police, contact Google, you name it. And you know, it's bad when somebody will take advantage of a kind person, but to take advantage of a grieving mother, that's a whole different kind of human being. I'm sorry, y'all give me just a minute to get my eyes cleared up. It's the smoke, it's not the tears. It's the bubbles. Thanks, Queenie. One of those bubbles popped in my eyes. It's a soap bubbles. It's not tears. Luckily, it was just an old email address that I pretty much just send garbage to. But still, it's the point. So I went and I got a new tat put on my hand. And it's the same tat that my son had on him. So that was like my Christmas present to myself. Luckily, I had saved the pattern to each one of my kids' first tattoos that they had ever gotten. And when I was thinking about doing that, I thought, oh my goodness, I hope I've still got his, because he was my oldest. And it took me days of digging. And digging and digging and digging. And I was like, oh yeah, I've got it. But I've got the tattoo artist working on a realism tattoo for me. I took a picture of me and him together before he died. And I'm going to have him tattoo that on me. The last picture. And I'll go ahead and tell y'all, well, I'm going to have to change boyfriends because the boyfriend's mother remembered to get me something for Christmas. But he was sick, and it slipped his mind, and oh shit, can he just give me some money instead? I'm like, sure, give me some money. But that wasn't good. So, don't know where that's gonna go, right? I mean, who does that? Be honest, who does that? How should I feel about that, y'all? Would y'all kind of have your feelings hurt or be upset Or am I just overthinking it and overreacting? I didn't feel good either, but I went and got his raunchy butt something. And while I'm thinking about it, no, I don't think Don and Candace is going to take off and leave to go anywhere. I think that is just a vicious rumor that has been started. For one, how can they afford to take off and go anywhere? Where could they go? On what money? With that kind of addiction, how could they live very long on what they have? And I'm just tossing these ideas out there. I mean, that's cool, Helen. If you take all that out the equation, I mean, so y'all been together a long time, huh? That's awesome. I was always working too much to really put a whole lot of time into a relationship, and that I guess that was selfish on my part, but I always felt like the world needed me more for some reason. Right? They will definitely have to continue paying that child support or give up their rights altogether. And Candace has done that before. Well, my first child's dad got killed in Kuwait, and I was very young, and it was just me and him, and I didn't have a way to support myself, so I had to go back to school. And I was just like 16 when I got pregnant with him, so I was barely 17 when he was born. So I rushed, I got a GED, and I jumped into college. And I got a first an EMT1 certificate, and then I worked as an EMT, and then I went back to school as I could. And it wasn't all at one time. It was I would go back to school a semester, and I would go back to work. And then when I would save up enough money, I would go back another semester until I worked up to a EMT intermediate. And then it was the same thing, back and forth, saving up money, saving up money, saving up money, until I finally earned my paramedic degree. And I had worked so hard for my education. And I thought when I got married the last time that I was so very honest about where I was at and how hard I had worked. And no matter how hard I tried to put it down, it was, I always put other people first. And I never really understood it. Because not only did I work, but I volunteered at the local fire departments. I worked at the community rescue squads. And even if I was sitting at home with my family and there was a bad wreck down the road, and I knew, and we lived out in the country, and I knew that it was going to take 20 or 30, 40 minutes for an ambulance to get out there, I would get up and I would leave my home and I would go and I would work that because I knew that I was the only thing between somebody's life and death. And I'm sorry if my husband could not understand that. But I thought that I had made that clear when we got married. But I do understand too that when somebody's not at home a lot, if you're not 100% dedicated to a relationship, that it can be lonely, I guess. Maybe he should have found him a hobby. He could have got a second job, or heck, he could have got another dog. I don't know. But, you know, I've always said when it's my time to go, I can always stand before Jesus and say that I done the best that I could possibly do for every human being that he ever put me in the path of. 100%. You know, there's another one of those little short uh, codes that come down. Man, I tell you what, those people, even Robin, has been to 7 or 8 different states. And I can't figure out for the life of me why a pack of church members travel from state to state to state together, and that Rebecca Cody and William Cody is the latest two that I have found traveling with them that whole time. So we have at least I know 12 to 15 people was traveling together all the time from state to state, from church to church. And who carries their own congregation with them every time they have to move? And that's the big question, is why do they have to move? Is it because a child comes up missing in that state or that area? Money goes missing within the church? I I don't know. I hate to just put a crime like missing child in a church. I mean, but there's some reason why these people are all traveling together from state to state to state. And anybody who doesn't want to believe it, check it out yourself. Check it out. And that's what I've said this whole time. If you don't want to believe me, check it out yourself. The people within the church are moving around together. Yes. Yes. And that UPA7.com, that Universal Publishing, was first run out of California by the Branch Davidians, and then it was taken over by the David Koresh's bunch out at Waco. And now UPA7, and look this up yourself, it's general knowledge, just Google it. UPA7 is now run out of Rogersville, Tennessee, and they print that shepherd's rod. No, it's not the church itself that's moving. It's the congregation within the church, the people within the church, all traveling around together from state to state to a new church. So you might as well say the church is moving. That Rebecca Cody, that Carl had been talking about from Enchanted Life Path, that other woman other than Robin that held Summer a lot, well, her name is Rebecca Cody, and she happens to be a doctor. And she was a doctor out there near Waco the last time that they moved. And I don't know if it was her husband or her brother that is her registered nurse practitioner. If it was her husband at the time they were in Texas, they are now divorced and he's married to somebody else, but is still within the church. If it was her brother, he's now married and has brought somebody else into the church. But they still work together at the clinic there in Gray, Tennessee. Because when Carl was talking about her, I was like, well, let me look and see who she is, right? So there is another human that Summer was around a lot that had mandated reporting who evidently did not report. She was required by law to report any abuse, any suspected abuse, or anything that just didn't even look right to the state of Tennessee. She's a mandated reporter. Her and Robin both. So here is my question. If they have medical professionals there within that Seventh-day Adventist church, right? Why are the Wells children not even getting proper well kid checkups? Why was the little boy whose arm was burnt so bad from that wood stove not ever looked at? Why were they covered in scabies that was never treated? She could have given them a prescription without them ever coming into the office. And the same with the head lice and the body lice. If they couldn't afford to go to the doctor, well, she could have just gave them a prescription right there in the church and let them take it and get it filled. And I'm sure that the church could have took up enough money there to get the prescriptions filled if that was the problem. So you have medical professionals, you've got, I know for a fact, Robin's husband, the two Codys, and the first one that put up the donation, the first donation that was ever put up for the reward for summer, he was a doctor. So there was 5 medical professionals right there. Explain to me why this is not making sense. That those kids were so... And did y'all know this? That those boys went to foster care because everybody in that church refused to take care of those boys? That everybody refused them a home? That. To me, that wouldn't be much of a church family. If I had a couple of kids, if one of my kids come up missing, and I had 2 or 3 others that was about to go to foster care, and all my church family says, no, there's no way that we can place any of these boys. I would love to just ask them why that is. Why they could not help with those boys. Everybody that's sending down those short codes, just know that your YouTube name is going to be turned in. Know that. Would it not hurt y'all's feelings if your church family said, "Oh no, we can't help you"? That was at um, the dentist office that picture was posted of her from. Well, one way we know that they didn't report was because if they had five or even three medical professionals that had reported, we would not be in this situation. There is a difference in when a regular person, and I know this being a medical professional, there is a difference when a regular person reports to social services than when a medical professional reports to social services. When a medical professional reports to social services, you can almost guarantee that that child is going to be removed 9 times out of 10. So just say if half of the medical professionals in that church would have reported, we would not be in this situation talking today. That's how I know. They told us in medical school, don't falsely report, do not jokingly report, do not report even about small things. Only report about things that you know are factual, that could be life harming to children, and so on and so on. So they pretty well educate you on what to report on and what not to report on. And I'm telling you, just from what we've seen in pictures, that would have fell on the half of the category to definitely report on. Really, well, I guess I did know that you had to go take special classes for foster care. So I guess I just didn't think when I said that. That's probably why they didn't. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I still think if it was my church family, even if it would have taken me a week to get through the classes, because the classes, I'm sure, is basic CPR, basic parenting classes. It can't be all that much to it. I think if it was my church family, I think I would have at least tried to take him, one of the kids, to sing. And I'm surprised that some of them didn't, seeing as how it does pay. You too, Oreo. And I know here it pays pretty good to be a foster parent. I don't know about in Tennessee. Yeah, I do know that once they're in the system, it's. And I guess it would have just been a hard situation. Especially with parents still staying members of the church. I don't know. I think this has just been a tough thing. And this whole 6 months has just been tough. With that little girl being gone. I think she's took the hearts of everybody who's ever seen a picture of her. As everybody that's ever heard her story seems to just be enthralled in this. And I don't know what the answer is anymore. I wish I did. But you would think if they didn't at least know who had her, or if they did not know definitely what happened to her, one way or the other, they would be absolutely losing their minds. And Don just seems way too calm, and we don't ever see Candace unless she is 10 sheets in the wind, so we really can't read where she's at in this. We've seen her on the behavior panel and Dr. Phil, and she acted like she was 5. Okay. So, who's seen the video that I shared of Rosemary Bly's husband's father, her father-in-law, saying that she had been taking care of Candace's kids after Chris Larson has said that he had never even met Don before? I mean, who do you want to believe? We've been lied to so much, you don't even know who to believe in these situations anymore. You got the father-in-law saying, oh, yes. Hang on just a second. Get the coffee. That ought to be shook up. Good and shook up. We've been lied to so much, but we've got Rosemary's husband saying, no, never met Don before at all. And then we've got Rosemary's father-in-law going, oh yes, because they had the kids. And that would have been her oldest two kids, by the way. It's in my list of videos there. I think it was yesterday when I uploaded it. Or I might have just shared it. Sweetie Pie Low is the one who interviewed the father-in-law. And I just can't think of any reason why the father-in-law would have to lie. Oh no, don't drink alcohol. It's International Delight Oreo Cookie Coffee. Iced coffee. I'm a non-alcohol girl. It's pretty good. It's kind of tastes like a melted cookies and cream ice cream with a little bit of coffee mixed in. It's the bomb. It's the best International Delight coffee I have found as far as iced coffee. I mean, the bomb. So, my doggy's over there sleeping, waiting on Santa. Santa brought her a new toy box and 2 great big bags of treats. But she knows she can't have it until the sun comes up. The French vanilla was my favorite until they come out with the this new Oreo. Or they don't call it Oreo, they call it milk and cream. And I can't find it in like the big quart containers yet, or cartons, whatever you call it. They've not put it in the big containers yet. Well, mine's a bulldog, and McDonald's makes her fart. And since she lives in the house, I'm not willing to deal with that. She got peanut butter treats and ba- beef and bacon treats. Really? Why can't it be prosecuted? Too old? Like, that's the reason I was afraid of that. I mean, that's been like forever old. Man, it was like 67 degrees here today. It's the hottest Christmas I could remember for a while. I was afraid that because it was so old, that it was going to end up that way. That, and if it happened, it's sad, but, and I do believe the women. I do. I believe, but at what point can they even determine when Don was 17 and when he was 18? That that was my thing, was how do you determine after that many years has passed is when he was still a juvenile and when was he an adult? How do you determine that? Especially if the parents are not willing to come forward. And I know that had to be right. And I know that that had to be heartbreaking after those women had to relive that again after all those years. And that's what I told a bunch here a while back is in order to continue being a survivor, you have to keep willing to admit to being somebody's victim. And I am not willing to continue being anybody's victim anymore. I am a survivor of many things. now, not just one particular thing. And that's what I would recommend to a lot of survivors that seem to be stuck just in that one area. Well, no, you're not just a survivor of that. Because if that's all you are, then you'll always be his victim. You are a survivor of many, many, many things. So pick and choose something other than being his victim. It took me a long time too, Linda, but my uncle told me one time, he said, girl, he said, I agree with you. He said, you were dealt a shitty hand of cards. But he said, let me tell you something. He said, you have played that hand of cards long enough. But he said, it is up to you and only you whenever you to, when you decide to say, I fold, and you throw that hand of cards down and draw you a whole new hand. And it took me a while to understand what he was trying to tell me. Because by then, I was acting out and doing things and just acting like a stupid kid. But I remember the day it started making sense to me what he was trying to tell me. But no, I guess I have thrown more than one hand of cards back and got a redeal more than once in my life. We are. They don't come any stronger than a female. Muscular wise, a man may can tote that load. But up here, and some of the things that we have to deal with, only women can bear that kind of load. I am so proud for you. I'm glad that you did. You're welcome. I want an interactive chat. I want my subs to interact and talk. That's mainly what this whole live is about. If you want to know something about me, just ask. You don't have to be sneaky and try to learn about me the difficult way. There's been times that nobody has had it any easier than I've had it, but there's been a whole lot more times that nobody has had it any harder than I have had it. And most of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I try to be. I have had the wrong friends at the right time of my life, and I have had the right wrong thing backwards most of my life. Merry Christmas to all of you guys too. I'm glad I finally got on here, even though I was mad when I got on, because at least I'm not sitting here alone. And what did you have to join, Marilyn? My channel is not monetized, and I don't have membership. If you join chats, it charges you money. I've never heard that. Are you in the States? Cracking cases, charging people now. Ooh. After they sign non-disclosure agreements with Tim Mullen, shame on them. They're making more money than any of us, probably. I don't know that for a fact. I shouldn't say that. But I do know that they signed a non disclosure agreement because I asked them yesterday about it. I know that they signed a non disclosure agreement with Tim Mullen to stay on the Wells case. And anything that they release is pre approved. And I agree with Carl and a couple of other creators that there's a bunch of crisis actors running around. I would like to know if David Doxxing lost his job before the 15th of June or after. When I called the funeral home, all I get is no comment, thank you. No comment, thank you. And I've never got a clarification on why he was fired, but I do know that he managed to get fired from a funeral home in the middle of a blooming pandemic. Hi, Angie. I just don't know how a funeral director can find himself unemployed in the middle of a blooming pandemic. But go figure. Who knows? And you know, we know so little too about Jackie Dobbs. We only know pretty much what we've been able to find out about him off of a Facebook page. We do not know what he does for a living, how he is connected to the Kingsport area or the Rogersville area. We do know by the pictures that was taken at that, was it Trailways Inn or whatever the name of that scrungy little motel was, that he was there back in 2016 too. Oh, well, okay, that's fine. People travel. That's a strange place to travel to. without having some sort of connections. And that's a little too far out to just be staying there. Say if you were traveling to Gatlinburg or Knoxville, that's just a little far out. I mean, what does he do for a living? Or what did he do for a living? What does his wife do for a living? There's a lot of unanswered questions about Jackie Dobbs, too, and while that is so hush, hush, quiet, quiet. What little bit we know about him, we know about off of a Facebook page. Why is that? We have people out there that can pull out so much information on everybody in the world. And we've got people volunteering to go protest people's jobs. We've got people volunteering to go protest TBI. We've got people volunteering to go all the way to Wisconsin and protest. Well, how about we get some folks together and send them to Georgia to go and pull up some information on Mr. Dobbs. Just saying. All's fair in love and war. But that's not what people's getting paid to do. You know, I just don't understand what his connection there to the area is. Is it work? Is it church? Has he been traveling with this group of about 15 or so people? Was he going to join the church? Was he... You know, it was said that him and his wife was going to get a divorce, and that's why he was moving to Rogersville. But from what I can tell from records, him and his wife are still not divorced. Well, me too, Linda. That's why I have still not monetized my channel. And I've said that I will not monetize my channel until summer is found, meaning however long it takes. Or I quit covering Summer Wells case. And somebody passed through my chat a little bit ago and said, "Oh, and I guess you can prove that Jody Sue was paid too, huh?" I said, "Yes, go ask her about the $500 that was dropped into her account right after the fundraiser was done. To me, that's being paid. People don't just drop $500 off in my bank account." Exactly. Exactly. Especially for one that's not even a child anymore. The day somebody actually puts together boots on the ground for summer that doesn't have a big fundraiser behind it, count me in. I will be there. If it's not, if it is to actually look for summer and it's not a protest or it's not a fundraiser, I will be there 100%. Search and rescue. That's me. I have a couple of places I would like to look. Let's let's go. When do you want? I need 6 hours to get there. You give me 6 hours notice, and I'll be there. Want to do it in 6 hours? I'll be there in 6 hours. I live 6 hours away. Well, give me 6 hours and 15 minutes. I'd like to slide into my Levi's and put on a pair of boots. How about that? And I will use my own money. I will not get on here and ask for money. Um, I might have to make a new email address. When we get off this live, give me about 15-20 minutes to make a new email address because the other one just got corrupted. Um, and I'll get it to you. But like I said, I will do it with my own money, I won't get on here and beg and cry or anything like that. You know, if anybody wants to help, that's great. If they don't, that's great too. Been doing search and rescue all my life. And I tell you, really, all it takes is the gas money to get there, and then depending on however many days we decide to stay. If we do it more than 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, however long. Perfect. All I need's a corner to cuddle up in somewhere, as long as it's warm. Well, and that's what we need to do is do it, make a plan and just do it. The sooner the better. Because, ladies, it's only gonna get colder outside. It's not gonna be getting much warmer out there. If we're gonna wait, we're gonna, for warm weather, we are gonna be waiting hot. I'm pretty familiar with the area and the terrain. Well, I have not yet to hear anybody say anything about Blair's Gap Road either. Period. And just look and see what's on Blair Gap Road. And that might be the same area that you're talking about. We might be talking about the same area there. And I'm not sure if she was dumped before she became a skeleton or after. I'm torn on that. It could be either way. Depends on if Don knew about it before or after. Well, those tunnels that run all the way from the old Lamplight Theater all the way under should make everybody creepy. Hey, Linda, are all those old army supplies still in those tunnels and stuff? And you know what I'm talking about. The bunks. They were there not too awful long ago. These, no, I'm talking about there was like, I was told that there was like old bunk beds and stuff under the tunnels by the Lamplight Theater and stuff. And that's true. Every time we leave a war area, we leave them tanks, we leave them everything else. We just walk away and we just leave that stuff sitting there most of the time. There's tunnels up underneath it. It runs it all the way across under Don's property, which would make that property, and here's another one of my theories, it would make that property really worth something to some elite people that wanted to do some nefarious things. And I'm not talking about church people, I'm talking about official people, just like government officials and government people. The way that terrain was during the summertime, there is no way that it could have been searched. The way, like, we were taught to search shoulder to shoulder, leg to leg, all the way up that mountain and just up and down and up and down. There's no way that that whole 12 acres has been cleared and around it. And Angie, I am so sorry. It wouldn't surprise me if, honestly, if, you know, where they said that they were clearing trees and that the trees had fell over into the creeks and stuff, it wouldn't surprise me to find where they have stuck her up underneath one of those trees. And a tree has got her buried down in the mud somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me for her to be basically in the backyard. I have thought about that time and time again. Well, if a tree big enough, if it was down in Shallow Creek to where it had dammed the creek up, now y'all follow me where I'm going with this train of thought. It had dammed the creek up. Now, it had not rained in days and days and days. So it had turned to just mud and silt. And that tree the weight of it just bearing down in that wet mud, in that wet mud. She didn't weigh, they said 40 pounds, so she might have weighed really 30 by looking at her. Man, it wouldn't have took him just a few minutes to stick her up inside one of those trees or up underneath one of those trees. And there she would still lay. Even once the creek started rising over the trees again. I know that's horrible to think about, but perfect for Dawn because it's right there. I mean, she's buried right there in the backyard, or the bottom part of the at creek area where the blinds, the hunting blind, and where the boys were playing and stuff, and that kind of heat, the kind of heat that we had this summer, it wouldn't have took no time. And people that don't live in the South don't really grasp that kind of humidity. Right? And people thinking like they think. And people say, well, but there's no clothes strewn anywhere. They would be clothes and stuff. Well, truthfully, she probably didn't have any on. Come on now. Blood from what? Blood from what? Or what if the body was not placed there under the tree in that creek until after the police had gone, after they had done searched that property and gone? If you go back and listen to one of my first theories, is all those people that was down at the bottom part of that creek loaded that kid up and took that child to a different address until after the police left, and she was then moved from said address to wherever she's at now. You got Don down there. You've got Jody Sue down there. You've got the two boys down there. You've got Andy down there. What are they doing? Having a circle jerk? Come on, y'all. And possibly Jackie Dobbs and whoever. We don't know, but we know for a fact the ones that has admitted to being down there is Don. He said he sent the two boys back up to the house. So we've got Don, Jody Sue, and Andy. And again, I'm going to ask you, was we having a circle jerk? Or was we moving that child to a different address until after the investigators left that night or the next day? I think they've all been being watched. The only people that has had any free movement are the people that is non-family, which would be who? Robin, Doxxing, Jody Sue, Andy, Dobbs. That's your people with the movement. Now, and I'm just throwing this out there. Jisu's no longer staying at that property at 125. Andy's no longer staying at the 125 property. His family's put up to sell the property at the very end of the road. Nobody ever mentioned that they also own that property on Lone Star, right there close to where the supposed proof of life photo was taken. So why are they all of a sudden trying to get the fuck out of Beach Creek? All of them. And I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just saying, why is nobody staying at that property? Just in case there's any just in case there's any evidence found, they can say, nobody's been staying up there. I guess maybe Don and Candace has been up there. I don't know. I mean, I could be overthinking this. I don't know. Why didn't they mention owning that property on Lone Star? No, I'm not in Tennessee. 6 hours away. I have studied those maps, though. And why did they put up the property for sale at the very end of Beach Creek? Exactly. She said she'd throw one off a cliff too. And she also said, had they auctioned the property off to her and took the money that she offered, which was a reasonable amount of money that she offered, that nobody would be in danger. And that was 3 days before Summer Moon Utah Wells come up missing. Hi, Sky. Didn't see you. As a Betsy bug. I am not a local. Dobbs owns the property that Dobbs was going to buy. Andy's mother or uncle owned, or they owned it together, the property that Dobbs bought. I told y'all I worked for a state for 25 years. I can find stuff out. No. I've done 6 months worth of research. She did. They do still do the prayer thing for summer. And they do it on that private channel paid for by Tim Mullen. Oh gosh, hold on a minute, let me think. It's Kingsport. You can find it on Facebook. It's Jody Sue was prosecuted and for for running like a something similar to, I can't quote the exact charges without looking, but it was similar to a trap house or a crack house. I'm trying to think of the name of that channel that's paid for by Tim Mullins. They're local to Kingsport. And one of the Facebook channels podcasts it or whatever you call that. He was selling, yeah, Andy was selling, but I'm not sure that she was charged with that. I think they charged her with running the crack house. Meth house, actually. Let me ask y'all something. If I'm in the middle of any kind of investigation and I broadcast out that my dealer or a person that I know, and I call that person by name, is bringing in meth by the truckloads and 856 pounds per load to be exact, would I still be alive tomorrow to testify in court against him or her? Just a hypothetical question. No, you don't do that. So no. So you tell me, are they or are they not trying to sell a story? Some of the things that she has told is enough to get somebody killed. Not once, not twice, but she has done it time and time and time and time and time and time again. I ain't giving them a penny for what they're selling. None of it. For some reason, look, if it was me and I honestly did not know nothing, I'd be like, look, y'all, I don't know nothing. Here's what I do know. Now, don't knock on my door no more. But I would not keep adding to the story. I would not keep growing my story. Or anything else. But boy, don't that story forever grow. Just the other night on Doug's channel, on Doug's channel, she was talking about how she had a photogenic memory. She could remember anything and everything. Well, she flat out forgot when she said it was the last time she seen someone alive, because she sat there and told a different story that time than she told about when she seen Summer getting out of the shower. So, this is the third story I have heard from her about when's the last time she's seen Summer. Yeah. And then, after the feds went to talk to her about him seeing Summer's dead body, then it turned into, no, that's not what he really said. What he really said was this. And then it was, no, this is what internet assholes has twisted it into, and this was what he was threatening her kids with. Whatever. Just whatever. But like I said, I know if I had told just a quarter of the stuff that she had told, I wouldn't be around to tell it no more. Well, you're right. Those dogs are exactly the key, and I've caught her saying something about that I have not even said yet because I've not decided how I wanted to go about saying it, but I've got her number. Just give me a day or two. But Don saying that he needed to go to the end of the road, or he got permission from the TBI to leave the house to go to the end of the road to go talk to the drug dealer about Summer being gone. Well, now there's nobody living at the end of the road. Well, what did he need to go talk to drug dealers about Summer for? Did you owe the drug dealer some money? This going on with the Humane Society has been going on for a few days, though. And then it come out that Andy was the drug dealer, and Andy also drives a red truck. It's a full-size red truck. It's not a small red Tacoma. But Jody Sue's mama drives a small red Tacoma. And blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And it just... For somebody that it doesn't have anything to do with, she just keeps interjecting herself. Because if it was me, and I didn't know it, and I didn't have nothing to do with it, I would take the money, I would tell it, and I'd go. I'd get as far out of Beach Creek as I could get. But I don't think the woman's got that much sense. Because for some reason, she don't want out of Beach Creek. I think she likes it there. Merry Christmas, Fox. Christmas, Brie. And we've not hardly heard anything about Billy Dishner. You know, the supposed drunk that was staying in the shed. We heard something about old Billy that stayed up in the shed a lot. Well, that's another one we just have not heard much about. Why? He's the one that owns a truck driving school that runs 18 wheelers up and down the highway every day, that has the means to dispose of children and bring in drugs, 850 something pounds to be exact. But we don't need to hear about how the drugs are exactly coming in there, or who, or or where the man might be staying when he does come in, dropping all these drugs off at the shed, or anything like that, right? We don't need to know all that. Reckon that's what Jackie Dobbs was there for, was picking up his share of drugs that goes back to Georgia. Well, when the drugs could lead us to summer, and the 18 wheelers that run up and down the roads with the drugs that could be disposing of children or taking children from one state to the next, sometimes we have to talk about one to get to the other. Oh, and the Old Wells Cemetery is on Billy Dishner's property where his truck driving school is at. Let's don't forget that. I've not heard anything about guns, I don't think. But I'm sure where trafficking and drugs is at, you got guns. But for sure, worse than Waco. And we have had, do y'all not think that we have had an unusually large amount of babies that's come up gone this year? More so than any in the recent past. that I can think of. It seems like it has just been one kid after the next in the past 6 months. I would really like to see that too, Linda. And I was so very serious. I will be there. I will be there. I posted that on a video on incest yesterday, and they were interviewing these people that had got caught that was in corrections programs and stuff, and their average victims were between 4 and 7 years old. Between 4 and 7. And 7 was on the highest range. I was serious too. I would be there. Even if it's just 2 or 3 of us, that is plenty enough to look. And the good thing about at least this time of the year is the snakes are denning up. We don't have to worry about snakes. The bears are going into hibernation. We don't have to worry about the bears. All the stuff that everybody was so worried about back in the summer, most of those threats are now being taken away because of this cold weather that we're having. It's just the cold weather. And I've seen some cold weather. We was in eastern, I want to say it was eastern Kentucky back a few years ago, about 4 years ago, and a snowstorm blew in. And fighting that cold was worse than fighting a bear, I think. Oh, let me tell you, I couldn't feel my teeth after the second day. Maybe the third day. It was cold. Well, let's see how many we can get together for this upcoming weekend. And let's do it to it all weekend. And if we can't get anybody, oh well. We'll do it by ourselves. And I got a gun or two. I'll keep the coyotes and the other critters at bay. Well, yeah, even when it don't feel cold, that wind chill sometimes can cut through you. But if you're constantly moving, keep, you can keep warm. Don't stop moving. Exactly. You just get to work it out. All we're going to be doing is searching. So, that's not going in like a blaze of glory. But I will carry something. If you've ever run up on a hungry coyote, they're pretty vicious. And they don't care if there's two or three of you. Wolves, coyotes, you better have a gun. So I've been doing search and rescue a minute. Really? Exactly. Well, but if they're bigger this year than you've ever seen them, that might be a good thing to our benefit. That means that they're not near as hungry. Just saying. Look at it that way, too. They have some sort of food supply. I'm trying. I didn't know until just a little bit ago that he used one of my videos. But, I've had that video out for a couple of months. Oh, I think about her too, all the time. And with me losing my son recently, I wrestle with myself. Okay, I'm a Christian. And even though I'm going to see my son again one day, that does not satisfy me. Okay, that does not satisfy my need for tears. That doesn't satisfy my parental needs or wants or my heart's desires. And I cannot reason where the wells are coming from with, well, we'll see her in the resurrection. And that's something I have fought with the whole time. Their child's been missing a month longer than my son's been gone. And I can't rationalize it. But they can. And I don't understand that. And I've not been able to the whole time. It's that pattern of thinking and the way that my heart hurts and the way that you long for your child, but you want your child. And I don't see that with them. And if I had one opportunity to beg for mine back, don't think that I would not do it. And they cannot even get on here. And honestly ask whoever has got her them to let her go or bring her back. Not really, not truthfully, not honestly have they ever made a plea for her life. Ever. Either one of them. And honey, mine was 31 years old. Not that that makes it any better. Not that it, not that it makes it any better. But they can't even plead for her. She come up gone. She got gone on June the 15th. I lost mine on the 4th of July. And don't you think when the doctors told me that I was going to lose mine, that I didn't pray and kick and beg and scream and pray and beg and they can't do it one time. I've cried more for Summer than they have. And that's what it makes me sick. It, and if it was just one of them, you could say, okay, well, one of them just don't know how to reason. One don't have good reasoning skills. But you've got both. None of the family, the grandmother, the mother, the father, the grandparents from the other side, the aunts, the uncles, show me somebody who has come up to plead for this child. Please. Can anybody think of anybody? I'm sorry, Linda. I've not even heard any of her family in Utah really plead for her. Not heard any of her family in Wisconsin plead for her. Yeah, Mary and Jenny's voiced their concern for her. Or they wouldn't have come forward. Because I'm pretty sure the reason that they don't take the boys is you think the phone calls and the fights with Don now are non-stop and never ending. Could you imagine if they took those boys? That would be non-stop hell in their life, 24/7. And I'm pretty sure that that's why. Lord Michelle, some things I didn't put up there on the Branch Davidians. Do you know most of David Koresh's children that burnt up in the fire carried the last name Lane, Lne, and they don't know how many of the Lane children perished and how many didn't. Because, some went with foster care. Some of them were already married at the young age of 10 to 12 years old. They don't know how many went through name changes. It's hard to track them back that long. Uh, some of them, some of the last names that was common with the Davidians was Sanders. Some of the last names that were very common with them was Jones. And you go back and you look, these are some more common Ben Hill names. These people went somewhere. Exactly. Robin has a sister that goes by the last name Sanders, too. And the K in her name is not her middle name. Nobody knows for sure why she carries the K in her name. We don't know if maybe she may have even belonged to the house of David, because we do know that she lived in Texas. She lived out there about that age. I don't want to make that accusation or even, we don't know. Well, it's not even them turning SDA. Branch Davidians are SDA. But they depend, the difference between the Branch Davidians, the Seventh-day Adventists and the Branch Davidians, they're all Seventh-day Adventists. But to make that fork from a Davidian to a Branch Davidian, they start believing in what they call a shepherd's rod. And the rod, you'll have to pretty much watch my video on it. They believe in the angel's messages, and the third angel's message carries down the rod. And this gives them the gift of prophecy, like David Koresh's prophecy. And we see what happens when people start prophesying. And anyway, the Branch Davidians thinks that after like 1932 or 1936, that Jesus quit saving people. So it takes a different prophet to step up to save another generation of people. So if you was born after 1932 or 1936, it's really strange why they don't believe that Jesus saves everybody. I don't. They're just a weird bunch of people. But you can read into the Lane kids that burn up into the fire, and how many of the Lane and Jones kids that was married to David Koresh. Uh, how many of the Sanders was married to the David Koresh? And how many of those young girls that come out of there before the fire that was married to David Koresh. And he was not, and people think that all the Branch Davidians burnt up in that fire. People do not realize that they all come from somewhere else. Branch Davidians come from New York before they ever even went to Waco. They come from California before they ever went to Waco. They're still very active in New York, Mountaindale, 50 miles from this Gloverville, New York, that everybody keeps talking about. Montana, Kentucky's even got their share of Branch Davidians. Michigan is full of Branch Davidians. And the scary part of it is they have these nice little boarding schools for you to send your girls to. Roy Lee Wells was the one that was cooking meth at the Branch Davidian compound. And he happened to be in jail at the time the ATF tried to serve their warrant. That was the reason why he was not either shot, arrested, or burned up in the fire. And that's why we're not sure whether Don may not be a federal informant or under some sort of witness protection. But riddle me this. Go to your googly-eyed Google and put in Roy Wells Jr. and see what comes up. Hey, McBee. And after you Google Roy Wells Jr., Utah, you got to put in Utah behind that. Roy Wells Jr., Utah. And when the whole page fills up with nothing but Donald Wesley Wells Jr., then you might have something there. Just saying. Your guess is as good as mine, especially when that truck didn't have a lick of paperwork on it. It did not have any insurance. It didn't have anything else on it that they said the night before from that DUI that it did not have. But yet, they let him drive away in it. I believe very much that he is he's either a federal informant or he is under some kind of witness protection ordeal, and I am going to lean more towards the federal informant than anything else, because of the simple fact that all these people in that church have been traveling together from Texas to Ohio to Utah to, let me think where else they've been, Florida to, oh gosh, my mind is blank. It's almost daylight here again. Nevada, Arizona, there's like 20 different places, these states these people have been in together. It's almost Christmas. I've never cussed you, Jenna. Back when I first started looking into all this, I found that Dave Ryder, Pastor Dave Ryder, at one time belonged to the Florida Association of Latter-day Saints. Well, that information has since been removed and I can no longer find it now. So I do know that at one time he was a pastor for the Latter-day Saints and was a polygamist at best in the state of Florida. Pastor Dave Ryder, the pastor of the SDA church. LDS, Branch Davidian, and SDA are all right there related. They're all offshoots of one another. And I'll tell you what, Victor Houteff, one of the founding fathers of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, was a founding father of the Jehovah's Witnesses and was kicked out for being too radical. No, not Dave Radar, Dave Ryder, the pastor at the church. Exactly, Jenna. I tell you what, Linda, I've not left too many stones that's not been unturned. I have turned just about every stone. Looking for this little girl. Hi, Jennifer. Well, I mean, I've just been a small, unmonetized channel all this time, and if you're not monetized, YouTube just doesn't throw you into the algorithm that it throws everybody else into. And that's just the sad facts of it. If you are in this only for the research and you really want to find people or children, you're not going to draw in that big of a crowd because you're not monetized and you're not being put into that algorithm. Well, Barb, I'm going to be honest with you. The whole time I have had my channel, I have made a whole $15 in a Cash App, and that $15 is still sitting in the Cash App with the donor's names or initials still attached. And the reason being is I said, well, we're going to come upon a day to where we are going to need Truth Finder, for background checks, background apps, um, something like that. That the channel itself is going to need something. And I said, when that day comes, we will get it, and that's when we will use that money. And when I use that money, then I will provide the channel with receipts. And that's all I need money for is, if y'all want to donate to the Cash App, the money will sit there until the channel itself needs to renew a subscription, um, or to get a new app to help me research. And then when I do so, I'll post a receipt to the channel to say, hey guys, this is what I used the money for. And I made Summer that promise when I started looking for her. So this isn't like just some big moral kick I'm on or anything like that. This is something I promised Summer. Because I'm not above money or making money or anything like that. I just saw so many people in it for the wrong reasons that I just did not want to be one of those people. Well, Lamplight Theater. To get into Lamplight Theater, you're digging right back into the same people, same church. We was talking about the tunnels that run from the old Lamplight Theater just about right up underneath the Wells property earlier, and what a gold mine that would be to anybody who wanted to do nefarious things from one property to the next, whether it be government officials, whether it was church officials, whether it was people, just regular people. I have heard say that the church itself was wanting to buy the property. I have heard that Jody, Sue, and Andy was wanting the property. And any way you look at it, anybody who buys both sets of those properties, the Wells property in the old Lamplight Theater property. Of any of those people that I mentioned, would have the perfect setup for anything nefarious that they wanted to run, whether it was drugs, guns, children. Well, the 26 acres that is for sale is not the 26 acres that I was talking about. That was the first property that Don got permission from the TBI to leave that night to go check with, to go down the road to check with one of the drug dealers about his kid going missing. And it just so happens to be the same people that owned the property that sold the property to Jackie Dobbs, which is Andy's family. The Lamplighters act out a whole lot of pagan things. I've not spent to be honest, I have not spent a whole lot of time studying the Lamplighters as a group because I have spent more time breaking them down one by one. From the Lamplight Theater, Lamplighters. The one thing that she said that I'll never forget that she said was if they would have auctioned that property off to her and let her buy it for the fair price that she offered, that nobody would be in danger today. And that was 3 days before Summer Moon Utah Wells come up missing. Now, one thing is, as much as Jackie Dobbs supposedly gave for that property, that drives property tax way up. Anybody that has ever bought and sold property knows what happens when the property next to them sells for 5 times the amount their property is appraised for. Their property gets put up for reappraisal, and their property taxes are drove through the roof. So, that's what happened to everybody's property, I'm sure. Probably why a lot of property on Ben Hill's being sold. But, one sure way to get property tax back down is for unspeakable crimes to start happening. For that to become such a high crime place that nobody else will want to move in there, much less pay that amount of money for that much property again. I don't know what denomination Lawson is. And she talks about her property taxes going up in one of these videos. I don't know what denomination he is. I've never seen him in any of the videos that they do. But I know if you look, even the Wells property taxes went up. All this is public information. All you've got to do is just pull it up. But one way for all this property tax to go back down is for it to become either a high crime place to live or such a terrible, terrible crime to happen there that nobody else will dare move in there, much less pay that much for another piece of property in there again. So, what has happened? I don't know if Clyda is related to the Wells or if they are just acquaintances through the LDS church. It was. Carly was on the Wells property, which was Clyda Trent's property at the time. Don has used Don Dennis. He has used all kinds of aliases. I would have to get out a notebook and look at all the aliases to give you a rundown on all the aliases that he has used. He may not be a Wells. I have my ideas. If he's not a Wells, what else he could be. If he's not a Wells, then he's a Roden. No, John Wesley Miller was one of his aliases. Miller, see, back in the beginning when the SDA was first being formed, they were Millerites. They didn't have an official name. They were Millerites. So when he was in Texas at one time, he was looking for an alias because he was wanted under Don Wesley Wells. So he told him his name was John Wesley Miller. And they found that alias when they run his fingerprints when CPS took the kids. And they found those charges and they combined them with all these other charges. But the last name Miller come from where they are originally called Millerites. A, he's either selling drugs, he's working part-time for the church, because the church is the one that contracts out the work, or good old Daddy Warbucks there, Tim Mullen, has given him an advance on the book rights and the movie rights. They're not going anywhere off that hill. Y'all got to remember who started that little bit of gossip. And Michelle Walks told y'all yesterday morning who started that little bit of gossip. And it was none other than Jonathan Lee Richie's himself who started that little bit of gossip. And you got to look into who Jonathan Lee Richie's is. This is a man who has been protesting for Susan Smith to be let out of prison. This man thinks that she needs to be turned loose. She did not mean to kill her kids. She didn't mean to drown them in a lake of water. She didn't mean to drive that car off of that boat ramp and then tell everybody that her car was hijacked by 2 black men and have us look for those kids in South Carolina for weeks before we finally seen the car floating and pulled the car up to find the babies dead and strapped in their car seats. She didn't mean that at all, according to Jonathan Lee Riches. This is also a man when in Newtown this mass murdering child goes to the school there and kills a bunch of his classmates. He claims to be the uncle to this little mass murderer 2 days later, and then drives around with Cabbage Patch dolls, one with one of the kids' name was Ryan, and one of the kids' name was something else. I don't. Adam Lanza and Ryan Lanza. He put masks on the Cabbage Patch dolls, and he drives them around Newtown there, and he just circles and circles and circles the neighborhood until the cops finally catch him and make him leave. Anyway, he goes to prison over stalking a mass murderer's family. You've got to look into who Jonathan Lee Riches is before you take a word he has to say. That is one reason I did not want him on the Summers Wells case at all. He has been jihadist Jonathan Lee Riches against our country 100% at times. He's told him in prison he's not well unless he's on his meds, and I agree with that 100%. So how do we know when he's on or off his meds? Is he being monitored anymore? I don't know. These are the crisis actors, hon. Hey, if they're your kind of people, power to the people. But when you plant fake evidence and there's plastic knives laying there when the tape starts to roll, we have a problem there. There's enough problems with this case as it is. This case is so riddled with problems. Night, Oreo. And let's see. Who was it that pulled up something from one of the others that was just in Tennessee? I don't have anything to say about Olivia. She seems like she's a really sweet girl. She seems to be honest. She seems to be thorough in what she does. But there was somebody else that went a burnt toast that posted where another one admitted to being a paid protester, because if somebody does something full time, then by God, they ought to be paid at it. I don't agree with that. And you know what? The great thing about America is you do not have to sit here and agree with me. That is the wonderful thing. You don't have to necessarily agree with what I say, but neither do you have to go dox me for it or knock me for it or anything else. Now, you can openly disagree with me because that's what we as Americans are supposed to do. Call each other out on shit that we're doing wrong. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. It's like the other day. I was in Andrew's chat, and I don't even remember exactly what the chat was even about. Oh, yes, it was about Molly paying somebody $5,000 to knock some little channel off off its, however you do. I guess you strike the channel or whatever. And I said, well, if that's what y'all are doing with these summer wells donations, until y'all get that shit straightened out, I guess I won't be donating. Well, of course, my comment was just struck right off with the mods. Just gone. Done. And then the mod goes and tells Andrea that I made a threat. No, not unless you consider me saying that I am withholding financials from any future endeavors until y'all get this shit straightened out. Then I made no threat. And if you're going to accuse me of making a threat, don't knock my comment off to where nobody can see it. And nobody can see any different. That's past being sensitive. That's just being ridiculous. To me, making a threat is if I say, I'm going to kick your ass. That's making a threat. Not when I say, I'm going to withhold financials, then it's, she made a threat. She made a threat. And I guess to maybe people holding Louis Vuitton bags, that's making a threat. I don't know. A Louis Vuitton bag. I don't know how much one of them things cost. Like $600, $700, $800 for a handbag. I guess I'm like ghetto with my fossil bag or something. I don't know. No, I don't even think it's fossil. I think it's the knockoff of fossil. What's the knockoff of fossil? It's the relic. That's what it is. It's not even really a fossil, it's a relic. Me too. My daughter got me that as a gift. That's what I was thinking, that they were really expensive. Well, I remember when the fight first started after the summer reward fund thing. And somebody said something about Tiffany Marie's, oh, what were they? Rihanna shoes. That's what they are. Or, what? It was another name they called it, not Rihanna. It was something else. But anyway, somebody else said, good grief, them kind of shoes cost like $900. And I thought, $900 for a pair of shoes? Who the hell are these people? Bye, Bree. And then somebody said, no, they wasn't her shoes. They were a pair of house shoes. They're only like a couple $100. And I'm like, a couple $100 for a pair of house shoes? Again, who are these people? Neither one of them look like rental cars to me. Yes, Fenty, is that, did I say it right? Look, I don't even think I have a pair of house shoes. Yes, I do. I wear my Crocs. They're multi-purpose, inside and out. It's a great thing about Crocs. They work anywhere. I love y'all too. I'll give 60, $75 for a good pair of leather Nikes or something that's going to last a couple years. But $50, Crocs, house shoes, river shoes, outside shoes, great multi-purpose shoes. Give them a try, guys. And well, I said something that clicked in my brain. River shoes. It is not a very well-known fact, like some people says it is. To know if somebody is missing, to stay in the water, that the dogs are going to have to use the ground to track their scent. That is not a very well known fact. The way she made it sound was like, well, around here, everybody knows that if the dogs are going to have to be called in, How many? Look, again, I've worked search and rescue for 20 years. This is not information that we share with people readily. And I'm sure that the one other missing kid that they had on that property, that they cared to share it with them. Hey, the next time y'all have a missing kid here, y'all don't track everywhere. Y'all just stay in the water. People. And did y'all catch how her kids was having to hold her up all day that day and even walk her to the bathroom, walk her out on the porch, walk her here, walk her there. She was so sick. But once she realized that Summer was missing, boy, look, she was off in that creek water. Buds, not bug. You got the earbuds? We call them earwigs. Ain't sure what they are, but I might have them. No, I'm just kidding. That Oreo coffee's kicking in double time for sure. Right? Definitely stay away from the injections. If this is your sock account, then what's your shoe account? Right? We got to keep it light somewhere because this crap will get you down. Sneaker account. No doubt. That's a good one, Barb. Be careful, Don will call you ex-moron. He kills me. Just every once in a while. We'll have not today sat and printed on his orange jumpsuit. her on his shower slides. And you know what kills me? Is he is not even a hillbilly, a redneck. He's not even from anywhere in the South. And Candace isn't either. And they got people believing that they are redneck hillbillies. And people, let me tell you, the hillbilliest of hillbilly and the redneckest of redneckest ain't that damn dumb. And believe me, I have seen my share of some slow folk. Thinking, wow, and people believe this. I hate to break it to you, Barb, but I think you're still considered just a dang Yankee. But that's better than a damn Yankee, and that's what you was when you first come. So it'll be better. What? You need to go outside. Is it time for Santa Claus? You need to go outside. Let's go outside first. Let's go outside first. You want to? You want to say hi? Look. No, you don't want to say hi. Look. Turn around here and say hi. Say hi. No. She don't want to say hi. Come on, let's go out. Come on. Come on. There we go. You better go pee. You can't have your box till you go pee. I'll be done with her in just a minute, y'all. Yeah, it's been a while since the last potty break. I still think it's too early to do Santa Claus. She said, what? We had some snow here. Disengage with all that satin. Plymouth, a real pilgrim. I'll be right back, guys. Alright, sorry about that. I had to take me a potty break too. Some ice. Ice. Did you find you some cornbread? You did. Was it good cornbread? I made it just for you, you know? It's what you get for sleeping through everything. What do we want to drink this morning? We done had coffee and it made us hyper. A little Mountain Dew? Yeah. That'll get us through the morning. That'll do us through the morning. What time is it, y'all? Anybody know? Like Southern time. It's slower than American time. (3:54 a.m.) Close enough. Thank you. Look at what Santa brought you. Okay, you got a new toy box. See? Tell everybody hi. You got to tell everybody hi. Look, say hi, everybody. Speak. Will you speak? Will you speak? How about a high five? Have a high five? No high five? Okay. Well, look. Let's put all these toys in the new toy box. Can we do that? Wow. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. There you go. I'll put the treats up and we'll get some treats. Look, there's the lid to a toy box. Sorry, guys. I told her when she woke up we'd do Christmas. She could have all her new toys and some new treats. Christmas, y'all. Everybody who's just popping in, thanks for joining us. I just gave my baby doggy her Christmas present. Now I'm gonna give her some of her new treats. She got a new toy box and some new toys and 2 big bags of treats. There you go. Merry Christmas. She is a spoiled baby. She protects me, though. Don't think she won't eat some faces off for me if she has to. So she's worth the treats. I took a big bag of jackets down to we have a tent city here, and I took a bunch of jackets down, and since I've been taking treatments for my RA, I had put on a bunch of weight since last year, so I had a bunch of hoodies and stuff that I couldn't wear anymore, so there was like, I don't know, like 4 big trash bags full of good, new, just about new, if not new, hoodies. I couldn't wear anymore, so I took those down there. And we took some food down there. So, yeah, I did remember to do that yesterday. No, I don't know how many jackets we collected, but it was a bunch. Yeah, I hope wherever Summer's at that she's had a good Christmas. I hope her brothers have had a good Christmas too. Or will have a good Christmas. It's not quite probably time for them to be up opening Christmas yet. Sad to say, but it's probably going to be the best one that they've had in years. You know, I've read and I have heard, and that doesn't mean that rumors are true, but I have read that, you know, they don't normally do Christmas because of the religion thing. You don't have to leave, Linda. We don't care about, we're not perfect spellers, and I don't hold a degree in English. My degree is in emergency medicine. When you start messing up there, we do not care about spelling here. I think it has become a running internet joke since Dawn started that satin thing, because it's like every other day now you hear or see it. Somebody make a joke about that, not today, satin. I've not had satin sheets since like the early 90s. I seen some satin sheets just a few weeks ago in one of the Ollie stores. I don't know if y'all have an Ollie's where y'all live or not, but it's like a deep discount department store, like a sort of like a dollar store kind of thing that we've just recently got here. And I was looking for bed sheets, of course, or I wouldn't have been in the sheet department, right? Duh. And I thought, satin sheets, I've not seen them things since the 90s. And I laughed and went on. All those good memories associated with satin sheets. I know, like, whoever woke up with the sheets still on the bed. No, Don and Candace are not going anywhere. How are they going to go anywhere? On what money? Especially with their addiction problems. What, they going to go to LA and live on Skid Row? Like I said, consider, we discussed this earlier, consider the source. The only place they might be going is upstate. Right. That's right. Come here and I'll pet you some. Sit down, love. Sit down. Ugh. Neither one of them has jobs at the moment. They have no money. I have heard that they already have a bank loan for the property that they're living on. I just don't see how they can afford to go anywhere. They're still going to have to pay child support no matter where they go, or run the risk of even just getting run through. If they get in a fuss or fight at a hotel somewhere and they get ran through and they come back on a child support bench warrant, that's it. Absolutely. It takes a dedicated bunch of individuals to work medical. Well, like I said at the beginning of this live, Sandman's pockets are only so deep. Without that book ever being published, or a movie written, and then here's the thing. I'm not sure Don and Candace is smart enough to realize this. If and when either one of them are prosecuted, they cannot any longer benefit from any book deals, any movie deals, or anything like that. So whoever they have signed, if they sign their book rights over to anybody or anything like that, that's who they are going to rely on the rest of their life to make money drops on their books in jail. Really, they need to stop and think about that. And I'm not sure that they're even smart enough to know that criminals in the United States justice system cannot benefit from book deals and movie deals. We done away with that long time ago. Don't have any accidents cooking. Do you know how many emergencies we run on Christmas morning because somebody has cut theirself or even stabbed theirself trying to open a can of biscuits or something like that? So please all of you guys, be careful cooking today. I cooked yesterday. Right? I tell a lot of my Sunday morning bleeders, I'm like, hey, don't you know if you just pinch off a piece of that biscuit and just plug it right over that hole right there, that it will stop the flour stops bleeding? Just watch. And they just laugh at me, and I guess my humor kind of carries me a long way in my job.